Konnichiwa, Dokusha no minasama, and welcome back to PJL Books. Today, on the A to Z of Japan, we are at P, and today's P is for Pokémon. I don't know why I said it like that. Anyway, when you really think about how much Japan has given to the modern world, it really is quite staggering. Names such as Panasonic, Sony, Hitachi, Mitsubishi, Toyota, Nissan, Nintendo, Fujifilm, Honda, Canon, they're instantly recognizable household names. They're so sewn into the fabric of daily life that you have to remind yourself now and then that, yes, they are Japanese companies. But they all have one very obvious thing in common: electronics. Not to take away from Japan's export achievements, but in nearly all other fields, they're sorely lacking, with one towering exception. Yes, you know where this is going, and I know what the argument will be otherwise, that Pokemon is also electronically centered, right? And yeah, you'd be right, fair enough. But let's cast our minds back to the turn of the millennium. One cold autumn day in 1998, 1999 if you're in Europe and Australia, two nigh identical games appeared in stores called Pokémon Red and Pokémon Blue. And then they promptly disappeared again, via hundreds of thousands of sales counters. Then they came back onto the shelves and disappeared again, sold out. The juggernaut that had been building up steam in its native Japan for a few years prior had well and truly arrived on distant shores. The Pokémon craze was here. But that was just the beginning. As kids sat in their pajamas on Christmas Day that year, rolling their character around bushes, trying to catch that wretched Abra, little did they know that the oncoming storm of Poké merchandise was about to roll over the stores. And boy, did it strike. These games heralded the oncoming of a franchise that, to this day, I don't think any other franchise that, apart from maybe Star Wars, has offered a complete experience before or since. By the time the following summer had arrived, you could wake up in the morning in Pokemon pajamas and bedding, eat Pokemon cereal, watch the tie-in anime series while reading a Pokemon book or while cuddling all your Pokemon soft toys, then head on downtown while swinging your Pokeball keychain in one hand and fiddling with your functional Pokedex in the other to meet up with your friends to play some Pokemon trading card games, or Pokemon Sliders, Pokemon Monopoly, or perhaps just the actual game. Looking back, the sheer empire that swelled from two modest, low-tech Game Boy games that were already 2 years old by the time the West got them should be unbelievable. How can these two games that, at the core of a business model, are just so successful that you literally couldn't move for Pokemon merch? And as far as my hazy memory serves right, I think even the Pope made a statement to sing Pokemon's praises. Well, the answer is quite simple really, because at their heart, the games tap into very inherent desires. That of nurturing, customizing, gradually improving, a formula which every iteration has stuck with ever since, and it's never failed. There was also the fact that it was one of the very first games to promote a real community and cooperation via sharing and trading. True, the system was clunky and required expensive, chunky wires to operate at the time, but I remember my brother and I playing Pokemon Red and Blue together, one game each, trading with one another to fill our Pokedex. The whole Pokemon thing has, of course, calmed down since then, and the mountains of merchandise has scaled back to the recesses of eBay and the like, though the core game franchise is still as strong as ever, and the anime is some, 800, 900 episodes deep now? Pokemon has never truly gone away, but it did have that period around the mid-2000s when it was quite subdued. I think people were kind of suffering from Pokemon overload, really. Though in recent years, the whole franchise has found a renewed energy and a happy medium at just being merely very popular. But I don't think the impact of Pokemon should be underestimated. I mean, okay, Dragon Ball Z and the like may have got there first to an extent, but Pokémon was the first Japanese franchise to really go mainstream, yeah? It exposed a lot of kids, myself included, to Japanese pop culture, who went on to explore further into other similar names. It heralded the true transformation of Japan from being the famed manufacturer of electronics, which the stereotype of which kind of grew in the 80s, to being the prime purveyor of pop culture. Pikachu and his motley crew of cute characters made the whole concept of cute, kawaii style not just acceptable, but desirable. And I'm sure it inspired a lot of famous names out there to show that, yes, a complete franchise really is possible. But for me personally, I'll always have a special place for Pokemon. I mean, true, I don't really play the games that much, and I'm older and more cynical these days, meaning that, yeah, I'm well aware that Pokemon is, at its most crudely basic, a cash cow for Nintendo. But I would always have a soft spot for anything Pokemon, because of its colourful characters, its sunny and naive disposition, and the fact that that, quite frankly, puts it against more of the murky, mature games out there. And I'll be perfectly frank, it was one of the sparks that ignited my interest in the country that I now call home. And that's it for today's A to Z of Japan. Thank you very much for listening, readers. The written version of this blog post is on my A to Z of Japan blog, the link of which is in the description below, along with my PJL Books website, so please check them out if you can. Thank you very much for listening, readers, and I'll see you next time. Sayonara.